Goðan herslingar, and welcome to Twitterekt. The rules are simple. We take 3 random Pokemon and battle it out while we ask the questions of your favorite Pokemon Go players asked on Twitter, Discord, or Reddit. Get their delightful answers while everything falls apart on the battlefield. 2 men enter, 1 Registeel with Rock Smash leaves. Alright, so we are here for our first episode of Twitterekt, where we are auto-wrecking with LurganRocket while asking the questions you, the viewers, want to know. As I start out with my Delcatty lead into Registeel, that's less than ideal for me.
You've still got this anyway, don't worry. Oh, it actually has lock on! Yes!
Oh no. Alright, let's So, first question is from Salo Fonesca. Why do you mainly use bulky Pokemon on your teams?
So I think that's more just how the meta itself has shifted. You know, there aren't a whole lot of Pokemon that aren't bulky that see a whole lot of use in Open Great League Show 6. Really, the most frail Pokemon that you see at least consistently being Trevenant. But aside from that, you're looking at a lot of Pokemon that are around 120 attack, like Swamperts and Swampert Sableyes, Venusaurs, Talonflame. You know, they're not bulky, but they're not exactly squishy either. You usually see 4 or 5 Pokemon on each team are the likes of Machamp, Walrein, Nidoqueen. You know, Walrein and Nidoqueen usually being the most frail of them. They're sitting around 112 attack to 113 for Walrein and up to about 117 for Nidoqueen. You know, still fairly bulky. For me, it's always been the case that bulk is better. It gives you more time to think about the game itself rather than just that one matchup that you're sitting in now to try to work out what's going to be your best win condition. But it's more just the cores of the teams that I built myself. You know, it's not that I necessarily prefer bulky Pokemon, it's just that for the specific Pokemon I like to use for the niches that I want to fill with them, it just so happens that the bulkier Pokemon suit for them. So whenever I was building a team for Liverpool and I was looking at Cresselia, I really wanted to use Cresselia. But it kind of fills a similar niche to Trevenant, on paper at least, where you have this answer, really, really strong answer into both Machamp and Swampert. But Cresselia does it in a defensive manner. It can take the charge moves from them. It can take repeated charge moves from both of them. But Trevenant can't really do that. It can't take 2 Ice Punches from Machamp. Can't take 2 Hydrocans from a Shadow Swampert plus the Mud Shots. It goes down to that. But Cresselia can 1-0 Shadow Swampert on even energy. So for me, it's not that I specifically want to use bulky Pokemon, it just so happens that they fill the niches that I want those specific slots to fill a bit better than other things. Like in GBL, I play Surfetch'd a lot in Great League. Surfetch'd is one of the squishiest Pokemon that you'll see for Great League that has actual play. So I do enjoy playing squishier Pokemon. Just so happens that for Show 6, I think bulk is better.
Alright, that makes sense. We also just learned Quick Attack Emolga does not beat Registeel. Very importantly. So next is from Lankern89, who wants to know, how did you get so good? And also, do you think about him when you're sleeping?
So, to the latter, no, I do not. I first, did you throw on 5? How did I get so good at the game? I spent a lot of time researching the game early on. So PvP for Pokemon Go was always going to be, as I said before, back in episode 3, it was always going to be my end game. If it wasn't going to be the end game of Pokemon Go itself, it was going to be the thing that I was going to put all my resources into. Essentially, I was going to put all my drive and focus into it. And I used to play competitive singles on Smogon, donkeys and donkeys ago, like Gen 4 and Gen 5 primarily. So I got a good grasp of PvP early on. I understood how the game, mechanically worked based on turns and managing energy. What moves does this thing even get? I think it's Thunder Punch, does it?
I'm not going to tell you. That's.
Oh, well, we're going to find out anyway. There we go, Thunder Punch, nice. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I spent a lot of time early on sort of understanding the maths behind the game. about energy generation, charge move energy costs, how different turn fast moves work together. This is back when sneaks were pretty much guaranteed initially. So the way I play the game at the moment, and the way I've been playing the game for years and years now, is always throwing on what's considered optimal charge move timing, which is to never throw an alignment if you can avoid it, or unless it's of any real benefit to you. I adopted that really early because for me that was always the safest way to play. Also prevent your opponent from being able to catch charge moves if you can play it in such a manner. This thing gets Solar Beam, doesn't it? Solar Beam and Night Slash, I think.
Those are moves it can have, yes.
Yes, but not necessarily yours. I had Fortress in the back there, so I don't think he had much of a chance.
Yeah, no, the Frost Breath Water Pulse. Not going to get me there.
Water Pulse.
Not going to get me there on that 1371 Cryogonal.
So, aside from getting a good grasp mechanically of the game early on, I think what sets me apart, and not to sound too big-headed or anything, I'm not above anyone else when it comes to this facet. But I think one of the things that really helps me is my team building. That I don't just run the meta stuff. I run the thing that beats not just the meta, but the team that the meta is built around. But I do it in such a way that my team itself still has play against other things. That it's.
Finally,
that my teams aren't just built in such a way that I counter the meta so hard that I can't play against something that isn't the meta. And my teams are. Oh, thank God, this has lock on. That my teams are. They're a bit different, right? It makes people think. Whereas if you play meta, people have simmed those matchups, have practiced against those matchups day in, day out. They know exactly what they're doing with it. So yeah, I think my team building is something that really sets me apart from other players. Team building itself, from Self, GBL. Show 6 haven't done team building all that much. I actually used to be the Great League specialist in factions many moons ago. He absolutely hated it back then. Because every team was just pretty much the same 6 of about 11 or 12 picks. It was dull. It was so boring. Was it Fate Attack or Sucker Punch or something?
Sucker Punch.
How do you even have that under 15? Is that like a level 15 research?
No, it's easier to get the day form than the night form at 20.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. So yeah, studying the game mechanically and my team building, I think, is what makes me a good player. But it's taken months, years, really, to get to this stage. Yeah, I've always done well in sort of self singles whenever I put the time and the effort into it. But Show 6 Open Great League has never been in. I easily get this one. If only I still had Rampardos.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been brilliant.
The one time Rampardos finally would have had play.
Yeah. Whoa! No, I'm not getting the Zap Cannon, no way. Yeah, it's taken months and years of playing and practice, dedicating myself to team building, looking over simulations, my own rules that I have around team building, just so that I'm not massively weak to specific things. Studying in time really is how I got to be so good at Lankern.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right, now for a real serious one. Dub 1916 wants to know.
Yes.
Oh, that's not what. Dive 1 second. That's not what I want at all. Unless you have Zin Headbutt. You don't have Zin Headbutt. That was my only hope. Does your nickname have anything to do with the famous Greyhound LurganRocket from the Lurgan area? I believe descended from the magnificent Master McGrath.
Master McGrath. So it does not. I didn't even realize Master McGrath was even a thing in Lurgan until I happened to find that gym one day. Oh, this isn't good for you. So I originally went by a different name. Not afraid to say what that name is. The name was Albino Gibbon.
Yeah.
Now there's no real story behind that name either. That's just happens to be the name that I went on like PlayStation 3, even some of the like PlayStation 2 days, where you could create like multiple profiles for the same game, like in Time Splitters. I don't know how that came about. Just an absolute classic. So waiting for Time Splitters 4. Yeah, I'll just be M here. So the name itself, the name LurganRocket, there are a good number of years now, there was one of the members of our local community was doing a charity fundraising event. He was doing a lip sync battle. And this guy, he's like 6'3", 6'4", hairy as they come. He's like a Sasquatch. And he was doing Flashdance. So, you know, very, very iconic movie, very iconic dance scene with the final audition. Pulls the bucket of water from the ceiling down onto herself when she's on the chair at the end. So he did that, and he did it so well. He's a performer, this guy.
Mm-hmm.
But he raised so much money. He put on such a brilliant show. His naming game is something sort of Team Rocket related. So I say, you know, sort of in honor of him, in honor of, you know, raising this much money for charity and putting on, you know, such a good performance. I'll rename myself something sort of Team Rocket related. And well, Team Rocket James was already gone. My first name is James. So instead, LurganRocket was available after maybe 5 or 6 other options that I can't really remember. And the rest is history, really.
There you go.
I have changed back to Albino Gibbon at one point, but like at that point I was kind of known within the local communities as LurganRocket. Nobody really knew Albino Gibbon except for the people that I happened to know in PoGo from before changing to LurganRocket.
Mm-hmm.
So it was going from the name that I was known by to the name that I'm not known by, so I ended up switching back then to LurganRocket. Haven't been able to change my nickname since.
You're locked now after the world's appearance. There's no chance to change.
Yeah, pretty much. But I wouldn't change at this point anyway. It's similar to why I changed back to LurganRocket in the first place. It's just it's the name that's known now, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no relation to Master McGrath, although that is one of my top gyms defended of all time.
Nice. All right, next. This is an important one. Adelian wants to know, will you marry them?
So he says marry me. That's not a question, so I'm not going to validate that with a response, Adelian.
Okay, fair. It's a demand and we won't accept it. I do not like seeing those Stunfisk there.
Really?
Yeah, no.
I can't even remember what your lead is. It's like Yuxi or something?
It's Yuxi, yeah, which it's Zin Headbutt Yuxi, which is not as good as people think.
Oh, no, it's not. It's extrasensory, which is better than you think.
Oh, was it? Okay, well, it is better. Not against Steel, though, nor is Metal Claw Bisharp going to get me here, I don't think.
No. Yuxi has, I think, Swift, Thunder, and Future Sight, so you can't really touch the G-Fisk.
Yeah, no, there's no chance here on. Let's see, what do I have?
Oh, you've no shields?
Yeah.
Where did the second one go?
I used it against Leaf Blade, yeah, because Ninetales was so low, and I was like, all right, well, I gotta land something here, because Yuxi and Bisharp aren't going to get me there, as we're seeing here.
Come on, big focus blast.
You know, it's
not good enough.
The single moves aren't going to get us there. All right. So with that, Sarkin7 would like to know, would you be interested in doing a PoGo Nuzlocke tournament where you have 1 week to catch everything and anything that dies during the tournament is gone for the rest of the tournament?
Okay, so that's like a catch cup tournament that people run. But if something faints during the tournament, then you can't use it. But
it's
you can
forever,
you can essentially use whatever you want that you happen to catch within a week.
Yes.
Yes and no. yes, because it sounds really interesting. And whilst events really dictate what we can catch at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
And even outside of events, you know, depending if you're playing in multiple biomes, you're pretty much going to be catching the same as most other people. There aren't a lot of like surprising rare spawns at the moment.
Yeah.
But if there was a greater spawn diversity, then yes, just to see, you know, what people bring.
What we can bring.
But no, in the sense that it would be very expensive dust-wise, and whilst I may have 3 million at the moment, it is a rare occasion for me to be in 7 figures in dust.
I've hit 1 million once in the entirety of playing the game.
I have never had more than Never had more than 5 million dust ever
Yeah.
playing this game.
Well, I started playing Sylph within the second month of playing the game, and it was
Yeah.
just over at that point. Like, I never got to build up stores because I always just make new mons.
I remember back in Sylph Season 1, I think Regionals and Nightmare Cup were both in the same month.
Mm-hmm.
And...
Are we frozen real quick? I put my team in.
Oh, no, sorry. I
that's
just haven't
fine.
hit pretty much yet.
All good.
I'm at 9. And so I had a regionals, went to Glasgow for their regionals on a Saturday, and I think we had our Nightmare Cup then the very next day. Might have been the next weekend. Oh god, Rock Smash. I didn't have the dust to both make what I wanted to run for regionals and to make the team that I wanted for Nightmare Cup. So I had to make do with powering up some, poor IV, like, lucky Pokemon. I had I think I had a Shadow Ball Hypno's Legacy at the time, but it was one of the like must-have things for Nightmare Cup if you happen to have access to it.
Mm-hmm.
I had this lucky Hypno, went to like 1470 or whatever CP, and I had to make do with it rather than a better one that I had gotten in a trade whilst I was in Glasgow. Because I didn't have the dust to spend for it, and there was no way I was going to go out and grind in Glasgow for the dust before getting the ferry home. Just simply didn't have the time for it. So I've been there. I've been there when dust has been in a pinch. I couldn't run the team that I wanted to Nightmare Cup. I ended up not winning that one. It was I think we had a 3-way tie, but because we had some prizes, we had to play it out as a tiebreaker to the end.
Mm-hmm.
But it was aside from Twilight Cup, it was the first cup that season that I hadn't won the locals in.
Gotcha.
And I've got it.
Yeah,
Still like 3-way tie for first, but I wasn't first.
Yeah.
So no, I would not take part in such a tournament because dust is precious. Now, if you ask Alessio, if you ask a Mind Joke, he would gladly do that because that guy is sitting on it's 160 something odd million dust. Give him a reason to spend it, he will gladly do that tournament.
Yeah, ironically, Sarkin has over 37 million last time I checked. So these people, they don't understand.
Yeah, they don't know what it's like. They're born from a different part of town.
Yeah.
So right. Silver spoon in their mouth.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Shonda Quill says one of the hardest parts of Pokemon Go is counting fast moves. As I finish.
Right.
Would it be difficult to maintain this while trying to solve 3 times 5 minus 12 plus 4 divided by 7?
So for me, energy management isn't the hardest part. I've always been quite good with maths, always quite good with mental mathematics. For me, what I think is the hardest part is, at least with GB. Oh my god.
Rock Smash is going to get us there.
Well. Oh my god. I'm not even sure they're on a charge with, there's no points. So for me, I think the hardest thing, at least to becoming a good player, especially when it comes to GBL, is team recognition, right? Mm-hmm. So this comes from both, repetition. Knowing that, at least in this current season, if your opponent has an Altaria lead and swap to a Toxicroak, you should expect there to be a Metacham in the back.
Right.
You get that from playing over and over and over, from seeing the same teams over and over and over. When it comes to Show 6, it's a little bit different, because you can kind of go into the expectation that your opponent's going to likely play some sort of an ABB kind of line, right, to protect the lead. It's a very safe option to play. But then you get surprised by people who run ADA that have something in the lead and something in the back that are weak to the same Pokemon, right? And knowing the likelihood of your opponents playing these types of different lines is a very, very hard skill. You can argue it comes down to guessing,
mm-hmm.
but there's consider like a calculated risk to work in this kind of thing out, which I like to think of at least. I would imagine for a lot of people the mental mathematics part, tracking energy, whether it's just tracking move counts, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Poison
mm-hmm.
Fang, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or could be an Earth Power off a Nidoqueen, or if it's a case of something like, I don't know, Shiftry, right? So you think, it's 3 Snarls to a Leaf Blade, but the 4th Leaf Blade comes out after 2 Snarls from the 3rd Leaf Blade, right? So it's 3 Snarls, 3 Snarls, 3 Snarls, and then 2 Snarls. Not knowing that can catch you out. So I've always tracked energy by, for the most part, tracked it by the number in the energy rather than just a fast move count. But it varies Pokemon by Pokemon. So like G-Fisk will only count 5 for Rock Slide, 8 for Earthquake, 7 for the second Earthquake kind of thing. Because there's not a lot of... It doesn't get funny at any point during that, you know? Yeah, I think team recognition is probably the hardest part of the game. At least for me.
Okay.
I would consider it to be the hardest part.
That's fair. Now, a question from Vivrecker. That's a weird guy.
Never heard of him.
Yeah. Do you always put your nuke moves on the right of your 2 charge moves? I noticed when I was watching your world screen.
When I can, yes, I do. It is... What move do I have? I have extra sensory here as well. This is poor timing. So yes, I tend to, when I can, in the event that there's like a, I don't know, like a community day move or something, where you know, it maybe it's the nuke, like a payback Machamp, where it has to be on the left hand side, then unless you can re-tamed it on the right hand side. That's just my way of doing things, just so that even if it's not something that even if it's not a Pokemon that I normally use, that I at least know, you know, where each charge move is if I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I put mine on the left, or I put mine on the right, and I'm left-handed, and I saw you were right-handed, so I was just wondering if, I should have thrown there. On average, that's how people default to the nuke being further away from their tapping finger.
Yeah, for me it's just left or right, you know.
Yeah. Be
it move on the left, nuke on the right. Like, for example, if I had Gorgeist there, I would have Seed Bomb on the left and, you know, Fire Blast or Shadow Ball, whatever it is, then on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
But it's just, in case it's something I'm not familiar with, just so that I know what way the moves are. The one exception to that, though, is for whatever reason on G-Fisk, I have Earthquake on the left. And it's just simply, it was always on the left from whenever I first made G-Fisk back in the end of Season 3 of GBL, I think. Start of Season 4 is when I first started running it. And Earthquake's just always been on the left-hand side, and I always just like my G-Fisks have Earthquake on the left-hand side. So whenever I made my Ultra League one, and I had Earthquake on the right-hand side, it felt weird in that one instance. But for everything else, the nuke is usually on the right-hand side if I can help it. My Shadow Ball Mewtwo's though, my Shadow Ball level 40 Master League Mewtwo has Shadow Ball on the left because it was a
raid.
What do you call it?
One of the raid exclusives.
Yeah, it was a EX raid way back when.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And then I Elite Teamed to put Side Strike on it, so Side Strike's on the right hand side.
Nice, yeah. Okay, good stuff. All right, here we go. 23 EJB wants to know about your roommate.
I had a pretty great roommate for London, I have to admit. Holy hell, I do not beat this. Oh my gosh, the Rock Smash. Oh, it's Metal Claw?
It's Metal Claw.
This is doing me no favours. So yeah, I had a pretty good roommate for London. Never met the guy before, but he was pretty cool to spend the entire week with. So whenever I joined Wasted Potential factions, right, I met the engineer Joshy in Lille back in May, and he really sold me on the team, the faction actually playing together and practicing together, working together as a team. So it was amazing to be able to, you know, just get to know them, get to know a few of the members whilst we were in London. But I spent EJ was my roommate, and we spent pretty much the entire week together. And it was great. It was great to have that company. EJ is pretty sound. I'd gladly spend another week with him. Sitting up in the pub until we get kicked out of half one right before we go on to play finals.
Nice. And that brings us to our next question by Joao Correa. After 2 incredible runs, have you figured out the ratio between booze and sleep needed to succeed? Speaking exactly of that.
So of course I haven't, because I didn't win. Unfortunately, booze and sleep I think are kind of mutually exclusive when you go to these events. You know, you don't really have the time for. I shouldn't have said that. You don't really have the time for both of them. I have no clue what energy you're on. I'm not even paying attention.
Yeah,
I'm just hoping you're weak to what I have in the pack at this point. Oh, let me swap. Yes.
That was
no, this isn't the powered up Celebi. No, I have an actual Celebi. So no, of course I haven't worked out the combination because I didn't win Worlds. It worked out for me in Liverpool. In Liverpool, myself, Azra, and Max, or Vegan Judgment, we sat in the Wetherspoons until they kicked us out on the Saturday. But I think they only closed shop at like midnight or 12:30 or something. And then went on to win the finals the next day anyway. So if you didn't know, my preparation for day 2 of Worlds, right, was after day 1 we also wasted potential. We all went down, got some food, and then we just sat in the pub at the bottom of the steps at the XL, and I might actually win this. Is that acid?
It does.
So we just sat in the pub at the front of the XL until they kicked us out at like 1:30. There were a good lot of people with us, and some people were asking me towards the end of the night, like why are you doing this? Like why are you not back in the hotel practicing? I didn't do a single battle of practice against for Rice's team that I was facing the next morning at all. And I just said to them, well, I've had a great time already. We're gonna have fun tomorrow anyway. If I lose to Rice, I get $1,500. That's great. If I win, I get $2,000, and I get to play again, and that'll also be great. It was slurring my words at 1:30 because I had about 10 or 11 pints of cider into me at that point during the day. So maybe if I had 3 more pints, I would have won 3 more matches, and I would have been world champion.
That's
so.
Well, you just have to keep testing each year.
Exactly. So if anything, it's less sleep and more booze for as little sleep as I got.
That makes sense. All right, so here we go. Final question. Zacharias asks, if you're thinking of Sylph in-person cups for London, would you be keen if he held them in Dublin? Because he says he is willing to make that happen.
100%. Yep, easily. A lot easier to get to Dublin than it is to get to London. Get to Dublin, drive down, or get on the train for, I don't even know how much that ticket costs these days, but takes like what, an hour and a half or something. We were really looking forward to Sylph Season 2 regionals. We were going to host in a gaming shop or a card shop down in Dublin, but obviously COVID happened.
Yeah.
We didn't get the in-person tournament. But if Sylph does, go back to being more predominantly in person, then yeah, absolutely, I would do tournaments down in Dublin. Even if I wasn't competing, I would just go to help host them as well, or just show my face, help run the show, just to make it as fun as and engaging as possible for everyone else that was there.
All right, great stuff. Oh, and then finally, how many digs could the Diggersby dig if the Diggersby could dig digs? The important one.
Diggersby could dig a lot of digs if Diggersby could dig.
Don't use dig.
But I mean, exactly. Even in the main series, like I think Diggersby gets Earthquake quite early on, level up wise, but you don't use Diggersby as like an in-game playthrough because it doesn't have what's it called? Doesn't have huge bar, which is what makes it worth using.
Yeah.
But if Diggersby could dig, then Diggersby would dig a lot of digs. Hell of a lot of digs.
All right, perfect. Let's see if Waterfall Gyarados, if I can take it down with Flygon. For all of
no! All I needed to survive.
Yeah, I believe that you need that charge move there.
Yeah, I've outrage on this thing.
Oh,
no Aqua Tail, just outrage. It's just a random shiny Gyarados. At least I get to take this thing out.
Yeah, at least you can knock out Flygon.
Yes! Right, come on, massive frame drops and give me the win. No!
Yeah, we were close there. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure, a great time. Some ridiculous battles with some terrible Pokemon. So, yeah, thank you again. Always a pleasure. Always fun. And we look forward to seeing your performance both in factions, which is always fun, and then as we approach Worlds next year in the regional tournaments.
Yeah, just look out for me in Lille next
Okay.
month.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, we look forward to it. Thanks so much.
Not a problem. Thank you very much for having me on again.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. You liked this video, right? We had a good time. Make sure you click that like button and that subscribe. It lets us know what content you're appreciating. Thanks so much.